the thunder of the next introducer. But we're really very fortunate to have her today. She's a newly elected official. She has a tremendously busy job, and she's going to share some wonderful insights with you. So welcome on behalf of Iona. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone, and welcome, Mayor Yadira. We're so excited to have her come and share with us some of the things happening here in the beautiful city of New Rochelle. Before she begins her presentation, I'd like to give you a little bit of a background on her wonderful career journey. She is the 24th mayor of the city of New Rochelle, serving the people of the Queen City of the Sound. I didn't know that that's what New Rochelle is called. As the first woman and person of color, the mayor since her inauguration in 2024. From 2020 to 2023, she was a member of the New Rochelle City Council, proudly representing District 3. As a council member, a few of her accomplishments include facilitating the city police's reform plan, securing a COVID-19 vaccine bus to the heart of her district to help close the vaccination disparity gap, and leading an initiative to increase the number of youths applying for summer employment. Prior to her serving on the City Council, Yadira served as an elected member of the New Rochelle Public Library Board, a member of the Lincoln Avenue Task Force, a member of the Task Force on Reducing Violence in the Lives of Children and Youth, a member of the Downtown Revitalization Initiative Planning Committee, and president of her Homeowners Association. Yadira received her bachelor's from St. Francis College, her JD from SUNY Buffalo Law School, and her master's from Northeastern University. Her prior work experience includes being a litigator in various New York firms and 10 years at Columbia Law School, most recently as the Associate Dean of Students and Registration Services. In 2023, as mayor-elect, she was selected to join the Bloomberg Center for Cities, the Cities program at Harvard University for newly elected mayors, where she participated in an immersive classroom experience focusing on leadership and strategic planning. Yadira and her husband, Jeffrey, moved to New Rochelle in 2007, and they are the proud parents of two wonderful children. Please join me in welcoming our Mayor of New Rochelle, Yadira Ramos-Herbert.
Thank you, Dr. Munch. Thank you, Dr. Munch. And I see the president of your institution is here. Thank you, Mr. Carey, for stopping by. So I'm super excited to be here because I think being on a college campus feels more natural to me than what I do in City Hall. But I have to say, when Dr. Munch and Miss Lindette and I met to prep, I was like, why would you ask me, a lawyer, government person, to talk about entrepreneurship? Like, I kind of had a moment a little bit. But the more I met with our team, our development team rather, I thought maybe I could frame a little bit about what New Rochelle is doing to support entrepreneurship and support the downtown, and the benefit you all have of being in school. Like, what years are you all in? Like, just shout it out. Are there freshmen? Mostly freshmen? Juniors? Seniors? Sophomores? Okay, the benefit is like you have so much time to chart your path. This is my third career. And as I sit in City Hall, both as a council member and as a mayor, you sort of hear government, you're like, want, boring job, nothing to do, bureaucracy. But there really are opportunities to help support entrepreneurship. If social justice is something you care about, if sort of fixing urban planning of the past is something you care about, if helping a small business owner get her first key in a brick and mortar, if helping a bilingual person navigate some of the paperwork and bureaucracy for funding and access to capital, if that kind of stuff is something that maybe is in the back of your mind, consider government at some point in your trajectory. You can start in the private sector, get that experience, and jump over. Having grown up in Queens with millions of people, the benefit, shout out to Queens all day, last stop on the F, Hollis, Queens. And then going to law school in Buffalo and now living in New Rochelle, when you're in UB Law, right? Maybe UB? No? Or Buffalo, just don't know. Buffalo? All right. Fun fact, while I'm from Queens, I actually really like buffalo pizza, which is sacrilegious in many ways, but the crust is like, it's a whole new energy. So I encourage you to try it. But what's cool about moving out of the borough and being in cities that are this kind of size is you have access. There's more hands-on. You can really be in the trenches with the people who need help, and you can really see in a really fast way the impact you can have on people's lives. So don't fall asleep on government. If you're into entrepreneurship, get your experience, start your businesses, go to all these e-talks, but think about government as you move forward with your experience as a way to support an ecosystem of the next generation. I don't think I thought about that when I was your age, and I feel like it's important to sort of frame that. So, New Rochelle. Boop, that's us. Okay, here we are. Okay, so New Rochelle has had moments. Back before the 80s, it was a bit more of a bustling downtown. I asked for pictures of people, but believe me, these first two black and white ones, there was a mall in the downtown. There was a huge, like, for some reason they did Thanksgiving Day parades in the evening, but there would be like hundreds, like way more than what we have now. We had 3 or 4 movie theaters. We had bars. I mean, there was just a lot before the 80s in New Rochelle. And then over time, businesses sort of just shut down a little bit. And if you're in the downtown, what's the bar y'all like? Spectators or something, I think is like the Iona spot. Don't worry, we pay attention. It's fascinating to see y'all in the evenings too. I did a ride along with the police department. Y'all are different Fridays and Saturdays, but that's okay. So a lot of vacancies, right? They did some zoning and some rules and legislation that essentially kind of shut down the downtown. So New Rochelle is this gorgeous city of 80,000 people, 2 exits past the Bronx, 35 minutes to Midtown, and I'll concede we don't have much going on in the downtown because people moved. I think some of our city council members, we weren't as active in the past as we should be. But now we're sort of entering this new era. In the downtown. So if you've gone to the downtown, you see a lot of construction. If you come up on 95 and you look to the right, a lot of glass buildings. I kind of think of the way the Wizard of Oz must have felt like, you know, just all the glass and the sort of shining lights. And now we have an opportunity to really look at what needs to happen downtown. How can we make it energized? How can we support small businesses? And how can we give residents of New Rochelle and the region really an opportunity to see us as a destination to hang out and not just go to college and sleep. So this is sort of our future. So just a little bit of a walkthrough through the ages. So we are here, and we are undergoing a massive redevelopment. We have approved 32 new apartment buildings, which may sound like not much, but I'm going to challenge you to Google development in New York City, development in any other city. It's unheard of, and I'm not just like, I'm going to totally, it's not even a subtle flex. Like, I'm so proud that we were able to get 32 new projects through the pipeline. That means we have approved about 11,000 units. And just to make it feel personal, that's 11,000 homes, 11,000 kitchen table conversations, 11,000 moments where people will gather in their best of times and their worst of times and just the nights that they just want to chill. And I'm super, super happy to see that we're doing that. And of the 11,000, about 15 to 20% will be at rates below the market rate. So giving a chance for affordability for residents in New Rochelle. But with this influx, we have to really think about the downtown, as I mentioned. And we want to invest in our infrastructure, in our amenities, open spaces, performance venues. We want to bring art galleries, innovative designs, and community facilities. If I say the word infrastructure to you guys, what do you hear? What do you think? Go ahead. That's a good one. Yep. Anybody else? Infrastructure. Go ahead, honey. Yep. Yes. Anyone else? Yep. Industry. Good one. Anyone else on this side? Or if infrastructure, you hear that word? It's become my new favorite topic because it is the sidewalks, it is the buildings, it's the two-way traffic. So we're going to convert Main Street, for example, from going one-way to two-way because studies have found when traffic goes two ways, people are more likely to stop and shop as opposed to like, oh man, I missed my store, so I got to make a right and a right and a right to get back on there. It's thinking about the less sexy things like sewage and thinking about gas lines and how are we going to, 11,000 new homes means 11,000 new homes, right? So how are we going to manage what that looks like and what that ecosystem looks like? So there's so much that's happening above the ground, but also below the ground and as we think of planning the ground. Again, I'm saying these words that hopefully it helps to spark something. And after you start your first job and you decide you want to do something else, maybe you can recall some of what we discussed today as an opportunity. So as we think about economic opportunity and we think about bringing businesses, we're sort of breaking it out into a couple of different nodes. I think we're toying around with the word ecosystem in the office. So there's opportunities and there's policies that the council sets. There's something called IDA, it's the industrial development. We work with building developers to help them get like some sort of tax discounts and breaks so that they can pay for the construction goods and build the buildings. They still want to make a profit. We get it. We live in a capitalist society. We want to help them do that because ultimately we want the buildings, we want the residents. We want to make sure that we are not discriminating, that we're giving opportunities for everyone in New Rochelle to benefit from the buildings, but not just construction. When the buildings are built, there's still opportunities for employment. Someone has to manage the properties, someone has to do the HVAC, someone has to do the landscaping. So how are we making sure that we are creating workforce development and job placement in these buildings during and post-construction? How are we supporting businesses? How are we providing grants? If you've been downtown, we have a lot of empty storefronts. It turns out 10 years ago, we required buildings to build the first floor, but we didn't require HVAC or water. So if you're a small business, you got to put in about $40,000 to get running water, air conditioning, and heat, which not every small business can leverage that capital. So we're going to go back in and kind of retro that to give people a chance at feeling more excited about investing into the first floors. And retail. Retail. Tell me, what do you think about retail? What do you, like when I say retail, what do you think? Macy's, okay. Anyone else? Target. Yep, Target. Okay, so the problem we have is people, Amazon, that's the problem we have, right? No one's really shopping the way they did 20 or 30 years ago. And certainly post-COVID, and I'm guilty of as many Amazon packages as the next one, right? I'm not going to the stores as much to touch or try things on. I can order 3 sizes at home, try them on, and return them, right? You don't have to be there. So when we say retail, it's not thinking about retail from maybe when you guys were little, or even for us that are a little older from when we were little. It's how to bring experiences to the first floor. How do we make it interactive? How do we provide entertainment opportunities? So those are things that we're working on now. And so we are going to be rolling out, fresh off the press a little bit, and Spectators is close-ish because that's the library, so I think it's there. We're going to carve out this little section and call it the Vanguard District and test out a few different like zoning and different entertainment rules and things that will allow jazz or like escape rooms. I went to this like candlelight thing in White Plains where they played like Coldplay music, this quartet all night, and then like we parked in White Plains once. I shouldn't shout out White Plains, but they're doing it. Parked once, did the candlelight, walked to dinner, came back, and had a night in White Plains. Like, how can we make sure? Right now, our zoning doesn't permit that. So we're gonna test a couple of little things. How late can we let bars stay open? How much music can we play before the neighbors get mad at the mayor? And figure it out in this little area so that then we can kind of roll it out. So we just worked on branding and a logo. It's gonna launch October 10th. Please follow the City of New Rochelle on Insta because we're gonna be rolling out our big campaign, October 15th, just to kind of attract more investment into the city and show that we have opportunities for people to have fun. People have fun, they spend money. When they spend money, stores are happy, right? And so we want to kind of create that energy. And some of the strategies, I mean, again, you all have been downtown. Some of it is as simple as cleaning, just like a little embarrassing to say, but power washing the sidewalks and the windows. Some of it is rethinking signage. You don't think about it, but having signs that go out this way as opposed to being flat allow you to sort of see what's on the block and make you feel more comfortable shopping. So there's all these like little nuances. Putting planters and creating seating space so that you're not sort of just right up on the cars or right indoors and making things look a little prettier. Lights, thinking about walkways, thinking about tree belts, creating more bike paths and buffers, thinking about leveraging this for stormwater mitigation so that when it rains and that it captures the water. And thinking about parking. I have a love-hate relationship with parking. When I was mayor Jan 1, I didn't think we needed parking, but as I've talked to retail and development, they want parking. We're a city, but we're a suburb. So how do we create parking, but not just lots that are just parking? How do we make structures that allow for parking in stores? So we're working with a lot of consultants to kind of think about these ways. And creating pop-up opportunities to support some of our small businesses so that we can also get some new up-and-coming businesses here. Also, this is Anderson Plaza right now, so like New Rock is there. Not so pretty, not so pretty. But if we were to do this, it becomes a different kind of space. It promotes art, it gives you like a tactile, it gives you like a touch and a feel of how to leverage public space and make it just pop out a little bit more and be something that's a little bit more exciting to go to than what we currently have here. More examples of tactile art across the country that have been very positively reviewed and creating those kind of buffers that we've discussed. And looking ahead, so Toastique is opening right across the street from y'all in the new Illustrator, the Rockwell. I'm really excited. It's like all the different ways you can think of avocado toast is my understanding from the owner of the building. I love avocado toast, so I'm excited. Thinking about how to make Anderson Plaza and Ruby D by the library just look a little nicer that way, fulfilling goals to allow for prosperous businesses. Oops. And providing business support. So coming in November, by the train station, there'll be the holiday market. There's about 70 businesses that open, and they sell different, like sangria and cookies and cakes and pies and different, sorry, thank you. And they'll be, oh, there you go. And we have a lot of music in the downtown. We also have like a business registry. Thank you so much. So to date, we've had about 1,800 businesses register. We work with them one-on-one through conversations, walk them through permit processing. We're having grand openings just this year, thinking about activating a few more business opportunities. Cannabis is legal. We have one dispensary open. We have a second one coming. Love-hate relationship with it, but it's here, and the tax revenue is great. So trying to figure out ways to support that, but make the community feel more comfortable with those opportunities. Bubbles. I love bubbles. And providing workshops, because it's not just opening your business. It's how do you manage your books? How do you think of money? How do you document money? How do you do payroll? How do you do HR? How do you manage the parts of managing people as they manage your business? How do we leverage AI? How do we think about social media? How do we think about certifications at the county and state level that help give them access to more grants and opportunities? So we've been doing different kind of incubators. If you go to Huguenot, 175 Huguenot, we have this open space for workforce development, like construction trade, but also workshops on social media, financing, grants, and AI, making sure that we leverage bilingual classes. We have 30% of New Rochelle is Latino, strong presence of Spanish speakers, so we want to make sure everybody has a bite and has a chance to be trained to live their dreams. And then Tough Leaf is another way. All these buildings, all these businesses require contractors, people that are going to put the walls up, paint, put the carpet. And so we have this program that allows us to target minority women-owned businesses and give them access to contracts and opportunities to kind of grow their business. So we're really thinking about it holistically. And finally, we work with you guys. Like, we love working with you guys. And so aside from this, and I think I'm coming back to talk about housing in November, we also have something on the council's agenda for this year for a new building at 500 Main Street. I think it stemmed from some classes or some workshops that the team did with you all last year, and having you guys help us incubate small businesses and help us work with small businesses right at the heart of the downtown. So partnering with our universities like you guys in Monroe is key. You're the future. We want you to stay. We want you to think of New Rochelle as yours, even if you're not from Westchester. We want you to see that we want to work with you, and we want you to feel like a part of this new era and renaissance. So I'm pretty confident my council will vote it in. And in 2025, we'll have an opportunity to work together even more closely. So we're really looking forward to this. So the council approval, it's going to happen. I'm not worried about it, but just in case we have to be that. And then this was our very last summer sizzle. Tito Puente Jr. played at Ruby D Library. We had like well over 1,000 people in the heart of our downtown. And we offer these opportunities so people see New Rochelle is indeed bustling. There are people here, people that want to be together, that want to be in the downtown, I was there. It was amazing. It was so much fun. People were dancing salsa all throughout the green. This one couple comes from Cortland Manor. They bring a tablecloth, silverware, candles, a bottle of wine, and dinner, and they make it their date night for the last 6 or 7 weeks because they loved it so much. And so, you know, just forecasting a little bit for those of you guys next summer that are here or come back in August or September, that these are opportunities for you to also hang out in the downtown, connect with this city, consider the city yours. And I like to consider myself accessible. I live very close nearby. I'm always at the Starbucks. I have 2 kids. If you see me, say hi. If you have questions, please feel free to ask. As I was walking in, someone asked me about senior housing. A woman came for a workshop, and so I really want to stay connected with you guys. So any questions or comments, always feel free to ask them whenever you see me. And that's how government is supporting entrepreneurship in New Rochelle, and ways that we hope you can plug in over the next time that you're here at Iona. I think that's it.
So we're opening now for some questions to the mayor. Anybody has questions? Have a mic. I'll put in my steps.
My name's Jared.
Hi.
I'm just very.
Oh, it's okay.
So one thing I found very interesting is that the implementation of AI. I know it's relatively new. How do you feel that facilitates not only helping the small businesses but also improving, like you said, the residential life here in New Rochelle?
It's a great question, and you're right. It is relatively new, and I am just starting to use it myself, actually, as I write like letters or even like some of my State of the City. I ran through AI just to kind of clean it up, and some of my emails. I mean, I think for some people who are intimidated by like a mission statement or applying for a grant or like a loan application, you know, using AI to help back them up can help. You can use AI to conceptualize even visual images. So if you're like, I want a brand for my small business that makes bracelets, those are ways that they kind of close the gap in maybe what is a perceived creativity gap and get you to produce a product that allows you to promote your business even more. So I think those are some of the early ways. You guys probably know more how you use AI, so I'd welcome your thoughts on that as well, but I think those are some of the ways I've seen it. Thank you for the question, Jared. My queen's one, yes.
Hi, my name is Yanira.
With a Y?
Yes.
Hello, Yadira.
I know.
Yes,
I
I'm
was
from
like,
Queens.
how
Yes.
interesting. There was a lot of talk about downtown New Rochelle.
Yeah.
Is there any plans for like anywhere else in New Rochelle right now, or is it just we're kind of like figuring it out down there first?
It's a great question. I mean, part of it is the identity of New Rochelle as a suburb, right? And some people really want it to be like their houses, right? And so where we are now, kind of like to Eastchester Road, which is like where the high school is, I think that's probably where you'll see the most development. I mean, you see the two new buildings here. For those of you who were here before when Smokehouse was like super tiny and across the street, and now it's like I just had tacos there for lunch today. There's probably gonna be a couple more projects coming up to Eastchester. Not much more in terms of building development north of, but with the buildings, with the revenues we generate from the building, we've been able to invest in stormwater mitigation because climate change is real and flooding happens a lot. And a lot of our north end abuts the Hutchinson River. And when it rains, it breaks my heart. The stress, people can't use their basements anymore. People have lost their washing machines and cars 2 and 3 times in the last 5 years. You know, that's a cost, right? So the resources we get from the buildings, there's taxes that are being paid, there are fees being paid. As residents move in, our sales tax go up. We've been able to invest in infrastructure on the north end. So maybe you don't see it, but for the residents for whom they haven't used their basements in 5 or 6 years that are starting to see some relief, that's how we're impacting them. And of course, we spread money through the parks. We hired 600 youth last summer for summer employment at $15 an hour. It actually goes through college, by the way. My intern was a junior at UConn. And so they earn an income. And for me, that's important. We got to give our kids and our youth something to do. They have to have experience with job development, being professional. But that comes from there. So again, it's not a building, but it's certainly an investment. The mayor of Mount Vernon calls it human infrastructure, as opposed to like the pipes that we think about. So those are ways that we're thinking about the city in other ways. Thank you for the question, Anita. That's okay, I love it.
So I know you just started speaking to the youth, and it just popped
Yeah.
a question in my head. As college students, how would you like us to be more involved in the city of New Rochelle?
Ooh, my goodness gracious. Wow. Okay. Well, this is great. That's an excellent question. You know, I mean, either watch or even attend some of the meetings. I'd love to be able to connect with you all, and I send a newsletter out where I like highlight the parts of the meetings that I think are most like interesting to people. Like people don't care about the stop signs, but maybe like downtown development. Well, no, the neighbors near the stop signs care about the stop signs. But globally, like some of the investment packages, give us feedback when there's opportunities to sign up for like the hub at 500 Main. Like participate in that. If you see things we should be doing, you all come from a community. You all come from home is, you know, and if you see that your city's doing something better, let us know. I'm really pushing us to be better at apps and like online presence and not just like, not even snail mail, but like newsletters, but that like having help from youth telling us that you'd like to be more plugged in if we had more digital helps. So email us, stay in touch with us. But again, if you see something, just let us know. And if you're interested, if you want to intern, I know we love that. You know, those are things that we'd love to support. But let's brainstorm. But I appreciate that, Jared.
Thank you.
Yes. My infrastructure. Yes.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth.
My question is, how do you manage branding the city of New Rochelle? What like avenues do you go about projecting your future image for the city? Like in regards to media
Yeah.
and even like you said earlier, like pamphlets and things like that.
It's a great question, and it's something I've had some assertively tough conversations on, right? Because I don't think, to be transparent, and I'm in the office 10 months, and my predecessor, who's my friend, was in the office 17 years. And so there's a different perspective, right, on things. And my background isn't just in government. I'm coming from private sector and higher ed, so I have a different experience on that. So I've been encouraging us to have more of a social media presence. So for example, we were doing a lot of press releases to like announce a new restaurant. And I was like, when's the last time someone's looked at a press release to figure out where to eat? As opposed to being on like Insta or Snapchat and sending it to your friend or partner or family and being like, let's grab this. Like we were advertising in a way that wasn't consistent with lived experience, right? And so I had to kind of remind the team of that and to help us shift a little bit. So we have 2 consultants that help us with social media just recently. Again, it's my 10th month, but that are helping us with pushing out images. If you go on the city of New Rochelle, you'll see there's a few more like reels and a little bit more video-like elements over the last 2 or 3 months. I'd like to think it's because of my assertively tough conversations around that. Like I mentioned, October 15th, we're doing a huge launch on the downtown retail. But I also go to conferences, and I've asked the city to create like a one-pager, very visual, right? We're very, I think the city has taken an approach of like journalism from the 80s, very dense text. That's just not the way things are working now, right? So I've asked for like a one-pager with bullet points and images that I give out at conferences. So like someone from Target was at this African American mayor's conference, and I was like, choose me, love me, here, and look, here's why. You know what I mean? And like, we have Starbucks. Well, we have plenty of Starbucks. I think Starbucks can give us more, right? So we're working with them, and I can give them quick fact checks about it. So it's definitely a hand-to-hand. It's a social media presence. But I have seniors who are 90. They're not looking at Instagram or Snapchat, right? So I still have to keep them in the loop and keep them. So it's multimodal. And just trying to stay up to date, but remembering that there's not one size fits all. But it is a persistent challenge because I think we're not necessarily getting the message out in the way we want to. That's why I was excited about this opportunity. It's a chance to talk to the next generation about this and sort of read the body language. Maybe it's not where everybody wanted to be at this moment, but I think positive. It's good to get the feedback and bring that back to the team. But thank you for raising it.
The other side doesn't have questions because this
It's been
side
quiet
is killing the game.
throughout most of it.
Hi,
Yes.
my name is Timothy Perry.
Hi,
You
Timothy.
brought up clean energy.
Yes.
Yes. In Yonkers, they started a school with solar panel energy. Have you thought about doing that for other businesses and schools by any chance?
No, it's a good point. I mean, what gets a little tricky with the schools is the school board here in Yonkers, the mayor is in charge of the school board as well. And in New Rochelle, it's separately elected and separate budgets. So we can kind of influence, but not mandate. But what we're starting to think about is it is indeed solar panels, but we're also thinking about like vegetative landscaping. So bioswales, which look like plants, but they have like deep, you guys are way smarter on the green things than we are, but they sort of have deep opportunity to grab the water from the bottom. We just had an air quality control report that was not great for certain parts of New Rochelle, so we're thinking about ways to plant trees and shrubbery to help absorb some of the exhaust from 95. And like by Main Street, if you go to like where Monroe is, that has like high levels of pollutants in the air. So we're thinking about that as well. We just launched our tree inventory, so we're actually doing an assessment of all trees, and then replanting the ones that need a little bit of help or the areas that are heat islands. And coming soon, groundbreaking will be next year. So for those of you who are freshman through junior, the link, let me see, Memorial Highway, you know where the KFC is? Okay, so go like 2 more blocks, and then make a right. That is 6 lanes of a highway to nowhere. Do you know who Robert Moses was? All right, so Power Broker, it's like a ginormous book, but it's really good. He was an appointee of the city in the 60s who had these thoughts on urban renewal, which hashtag is more like just like some racist urban planning. And he demolished homes in that area. It's a historically African-American community, built a 6-lane highway that was supposed to connect 95 to the Hutch, but ran out of money. And so now there's like 6 lanes of highway there. We are gonna take 3 lanes back and make it a pedestrian park, connecting the community to the downtown. Think of the High Line. If you've been to Barcelona, think of Las Ramblas. And that'll be another opportunity for some green infrastructure there, where there'll be space for solar panels, but also the green. So we're trying to find ways to kind of retrofit. But it's a good point. It's important. I mean, again, climate change, the flooding, we all have to do our part.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lucero, and I was just asking you regarding climate change.
Yeah.
Do you think that you would be launching new volunteer work programs for that, especially with Iona University?
We could, and you can help me come up with the way to do it. Or anyone could, honestly. I know some of you guys volunteer at Lincoln Grow Lincoln Park with Miss Linda, and you've definitely done some cleanup, but I would love to think about ways to involve you all more. So I'm happy to give you my email and we can just chat. Or if you don't want to do the work, but now you're like, I'm volunteering. If anyone wants to help. But yeah, we can definitely think about some of that too. Some of our workforce development is to train people to manage the bioswales. We kind of want to create a system where we know what we're going to be building, so we might as well have people employed and earn a living to help maintain it. But we can talk about what volunteer opportunities look like and create them. Absolutely. Thank you, Lucero. The quiet side.
The other side is quiet.
Or the middle.
But Mayor, we have a lot of ideas that we need to start
I love it.
collaborating.
I love
like,
it. I
I
love
don't know.
being with
We're
students.
gonna get in the forefront, but I'm going to the other side and I'm gonna pick on a couple of people.
I'll see you later at 5.
Oh yeah, Professor Winkler is right here for half of his classes here. So, any questions?
Or
Jordan,
observations or thoughts. You have to think something.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Jordan,
Hi,
and I
Jordan.
was curious. You obviously have a lot of different roles and visions that you have for New Rochelle.
Yeah.
But what would you say is, how do I put this?
It doesn't have to be perfect. Just say it.
Like, what is the most significant change that you hope to make for this city?
I love that question. Oof, one significant.
Yeah, just choose one.
I really want the link to come online, but not just come online. So I see the link again, that's that pedestrian parkway I talked about. It's an opportunity for three things, and the staff has told me I'm being a little too ambitious, but like that just gets me more excited. It's a park, but it's an opportunity for economic development, and it's an opportunity for green infrastructure to combat stormwater mitigation, right? So where the link is historically African American, if you look up the redlining maps of the 20s and 30s, where our public housing is right now, in the 20s and 30s, was described as a place for African Americans to come from Harlem, for poor African Americans to come from Harlem and live. We've never given that corner a chance to be more than what government decided it was going to be in 1920. And then when you do research on redlining communities and flooding, and I see this community flood, I remember one woman, single mom, and she called me, her car flooded out, so she's already on getting assistance for public housing, and she's like, I can't get to work, I can't afford a rental, I don't have the credit for a rental, and now if I lose my job, where am I gonna live? All because of the impact of flooding on her car. She did nothing wrong, right? And that stays with me as I think about, we have to fix what our predecessors allowed to happen, right? And so seeing it come online, but also for there to be stats and data that reflect that Black businesses were able to incubate and grow and thrive, and that flooding visibly reduces, nothing's gonna stop it, but that it visibly reduces, and that the pollutants in the area visibly reduce through data. So it's bringing it to line, but making sure that the data supports that our goals were being met. And if the data doesn't support it, that we are humble enough to make adjustments as necessary. If I can get that done, I will be thrilled to have spent my time in this role. And I like to think of myself in 30 years when I will not be mayor, but walking in New Rochelle to see that came about because of my advocacy. And that will be all I could ask for on my deathbed.
Mayor,
Yes,
as they
in the back, sorry.
We got another question.
Yes.
Where?
Adrian.
You gotta get up.
Hi, my name is Adrian,
Hi, Adrian.
and my question is, I know you mentioned a lot about parks and walkability. So my question is, what is your plan for public transport, and specifically offering that as a viable alternative to car-centric travel?
It's a good one. It's a good one. I mean, we work with our county on the buses. We are one of the few cities to have the circuit. You've seen it. It's like a little white truck, little guy. It's electric, and it connects people from here to the downtown. I sometimes take it, and you can pull it on your phone like Uber in an app. So that's one step that we're doing. The scooters are a love-hate because some of our older neighbors don't like that they're left everywhere, right, in the corners, but it is another way to kind of help reduce the need for cars to get to the train station, and people do use them. So those are some of the steps. I mean, I think in a dream world, what we'd like to see is, it's the school buses be electric vehicle fleets, and the county is already rolling out electric fleets, but to see more around that with the Beeline buses. But our development is called transit-oriented development for a reason, right? These buildings, except for the two that are here, the Rockwell and the Illustrator, are principally downtown near the train station, right? So that we can encourage new residents, but not have a reliance on cars to get to the train, to get to work. But also as we bring in new experiences on the first floor, they don't need a car to grab dinner or go to a jazz bar or to kind of have an experience downtown. So it's also how we're designing the downtown, is how we think about it too. Thank you.
Questions? I have a question while the students think. There's so many initiatives, and
Yeah.
you've said so many great things, but how do you prioritize
Right.
of what happens first?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, and you don't always get it, also you can have a list of things and then life still happens, right? So like I'm going to be doing an appointment for a role that has not been done in 15 years, right? That was on the bingo card Sunday night, right? You know what I mean? So, it's giving myself grace that I'm human, and that's hard for a type A oldest daughter perfectionist, right, with a lot of anxiety. So I have to remind myself that. I am in therapy as well every Wednesday right before this, to also help me kind of just clear through whatever's in my brain and get through that. And I only talk about it because there's no reason to be embarrassed about that, therapy or mental health. And relying on a team, right? So we have in a tremendous, we talked about a couple of my colleagues, Commissioner of Development Adam Salgado, Deputy Commissioner Jorge Ventura. There's a bunch of professionals in City Hall who are on the ground and kind of in the hand-to-hand that can help prioritize. So there's a lot of open communication, a lot of meetings and agendas, check-ins every week for some roles, every couple of weeks with other roles. I have 6 council colleagues, so staying on the phone and checking in and hearing how things are going, trying to find common denominators to elevate. But it is hard because I'm super ambitious and I want to get things done, and government can be a little slow. But I think as long as you I just know that every day I wake up and do the very best I can and go to sleep kind of with that peace, or try to have that peace. And every day is a new day to start all over again and figure it out. But it's a balance of delegating, it's a balance of grace, and it's a balance of sort of staying in communication with your colleagues.
Awesome. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
that answer and the humanity of that answer. So
Thank
thank you. To my colleagues, professor, I'm going to start calling you guys
On the
up, too,
professors?
for some questions.
Hi, my name is
Hi.
Akash Sapru. Just as a follow-up to your response, like governments generally are very bureaucratic. So
Yeah.
how does someone induce an entrepreneurial flair in a bureaucratic system like the government?
No, it's a great question. So it's great. The Bloomberg training that Dr. Munch, I got to go to a second part of that training. And it's cool because it's for mayors. The second training was international too. So it was like, my cohort was the mayor of Nairobi, Kenya, Reykjavik, Iceland. So it was cool, someone from New Zealand. And they infuse that even though, yes, government can be bureaucratic, you still want to be, as the elected, you want to be the one to challenge systems a little bit, right? Why are we doing it this way? And sometimes I find myself saying, are we doing it this way because we have to, or because we just decided we wanted to do it this way? And if we have control over the process, how can we make it easier? And I do try to infuse the human side of it, right? So if there's an application for like a $4,000 grant for a small business, and it's 6 years of pay stub, reminding them that some of our neighbors don't trust banks, or might be underbanked, or have under-resourced, or don't speak English, have never touched Excel, right? So what are the parts that, yes, we have to do because the county, the state, or federal require, but what are the parts that we can sort of be thoughtful and engaged around? And so I'm always just kind of challenging a little bit, why do we do it this way? What do we have to do, and what are we doing because it just got comfortable, or because the phrase "we've always done it this way" sets me off. And so it just triggers me. Even when I was the dean of students, it would just, don't say that to me. Let's figure out a way that's responsive to the need, right? And so some of it is looking at data too. I'll try it your way. What is the response looking like? And if it's not hitting the targets we want, then we got to go back to the beginning and I want to unpack every step and what can we remove. So I think it's being that voice. And I think in many ways, again, my background isn't government. I kind of provide that perspective in the City Hall. But thank you for the question.
Any other questions?
Hi, Brother Kevin Griffith.
Hi.
You mentioned 11,000 new homes.
Yes.
What impact will that have on the school system in New Rochelle?
It's a great question. Thus far, not much, to be honest, and about 65% of those units are built. After COVID, there's been a drop in public school enrollment across the board, not just New Rochelle, in the county. Myself, my daughter was at the public school through 2020. In 6th grade, she's at Ursuline. My little guy is doing middle school at the public school. So I just think families through COVID made some different choices. What's kind of cool is back in 2015, when we came up with the plan for the development, we projected a number for enrollment, anticipating it would increase over 10,000. The school district gets, I'm going to get nerdy. I'm trying not to nerd out a little bit. The school district gets money, fee share mitigation. The city gets fee share mitigation. Ours goes to infrastructure. The school district goes to whatever they want. They're still getting money based on the 2015 over projection. So they're actually still making a significant amount of money from each of the projects. And that money would allow them to build or expand any of the campus of the schools that they have. And so one school, Columbus, which is a school, it's sort of on the south end, but maybe more towards central. They bought a plot of land adjacent to it. And right now it's going to be an outdoor classroom, but they have the capacity to make it part of an indoor experience if they needed to. And that's one of the schools where the kids in the new developments would end up going. So there's a plan for the absorption of it, but thus far, actually, we've dropped under 10,000 kids enrolled, and it's been like that since COVID. You have a question, Jared? I love it. You can go all day. Here you go. I appreciate it. Go ahead, honey. We can share.
So my question is, I'm originally from Washington Heights, and yeah, and at least some of the initiative that I had seen, I've seen a little bit here, but maybe it could be put towards more, is like the connection between the police and the community. Is that there's a lot of like community events as far as like in Washington Heights, like community affairs. Are there like initiatives like with that here in New Rochelle that maybe we're pushing towards more?
So, because you don't know about them, then it suggests to me that we have to do better, right? So I can spout out things we've done. We do this like coffee with a cop, and one of our summer youth programs was it was called Mentors in Blue. So it was about 20 kids that spent 6 weeks with some of our packed police and community, like our youth officers, with them in the summer, getting to know them. We do this thing called the Citizens Police Academy. I did it. It's like 9 weeks, 9 Wednesdays, where you learn about policing in your shell. That's where I did the ride along, and I saw your former colleagues at Spectators and the boat rides and everything else. So there are opportunities, but if you're raising it, it suggests to me that we probably have to do more and maybe think of different ways. So it is important. I mean, we have had 2 killings of unarmed black men in New Rochelle in the last 4 years, right? So I think our police do a tremendous job, and I really respect our commissioner, and I've developed a deep respect for our police, but there are things we've had to answer to also, right? So living in that kind of, I'm trying to step away from using the word but, it's the and, because 2 things can exist, duality, right? So recognizing the respect and the trust I have for the police, but recognizing that we've had some painful opportunities that have disrupted the trust for other members of the community. So I would also welcome, I give you my email, if you see stuff, again, you all come from somewhere, right? If you're seeing something that's right or feels right, share it, because I'd love to elevate that. Having a meeting with our commissioner of police tomorrow with respect to one of the shootings, the attorney general came down with a decision, and so we're talking about trust moving forward. It's hard, post George Floyd, and to be the former rep of the African American district, to manage that duality, relying on my police, but recognizing that 2 black men have been killed since 2020. 2020 was the first one, and 2023 was the second one, right? So there's more to be done. But great question, Jared. Oh, sorry, baby. Old Navy. Go ahead.
My name is Melissa St. John, and when you said you're planning on making Main Street here in New Rochelle in 2 ways, do you believe there will be a positive impact for that with the people?
That's the goal. That's the goal. I mean, ultimately, we want more people to feel that they can stop, park, eat, and shop on Main Street, right? So like Main Street happens to have like Colombian houses. Like if you like Spanish, it's like rice and beans and anything else, like in plantains, like that's where I go most days. It's like my comfort lunch spot, right? There's like a Dominican hair salon I go to there as well. Like there's a lot on Main Street that I go to. And so what we want to do is encourage either people that drive to stop, park, and stay, right? Get your hair done, grab lunch, get some coffee. So the studies, and based on like reviews we've done with consultants, is that it's a tool to help it make it better for residents as well. So we'll see though. Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I've been living in Rochelle since 2004, and I've always heard, or people have asked me, where do you live, the north end or the south end? Ooh, I
we're
know.
gonna go there.
Because I'm from Rockland, and
Yep.
so I never heard such a thing. So one of the things that I constantly hear is it's so diverse, yet I still feel there's a lack of inclusion. For example, I've heard about beach clubs. I've never been to one, and I don't think a lot of people have because they can't afford it. So I would like to figure out or hear from you and how you will bring these communities together. And I would love a club where regular folks, middle class folks, can afford.
Yeah, it's a great question. I have goals, but I'm going to lean in on the grace because there's like a whole, New Rochelle was founded in 1688, right? So there's a lot of deep history. So New Rochelle is fascinating in that way because sometimes people think of New Rochelle and it's the beach or the beach clubs or the wedding venues and the really big houses. But we actually have the New Rochelle Municipal Housing Authority, which is public housing, the way New York City has the New York City Housing Authority. We have senior homes. We have a diverse housing stock that reflects the income. Columbus School, the one I mentioned, I think like their free lunch rate is like 92% of those scholars get free lunch, free or reduced lunch. Davis, which is on the northern end, that number is almost like 25 or 30% get free and reduced lunch, right? There's a huge income. Lincoln Avenue, where I talked about the link, for example, there you can look it up. If you go to the Museum of African American History in DC, we're on the map, but for being called the Little Rock of the North. That was the first school that was desegregated in the north of the entire United States. and it was a school that was torn down. The school district at the time was intentionally sending all black kids to Lincoln School, all white kids to Webster School, and then they were not. The kids at Lincoln were getting the old books from the kids on the north end. Like we're the South and not New Rochelle, 2 exits past New York City, right? So we have a lot to be proud of here. We do have an incredible diversity, but there's a lot of deep-seated pain in the community as well. And let's be clear, when I talk about Lincoln School, that's across the street from the Red Line community that I was talking about earlier to Jordan's question. So there's a lot of stuff that we don't acknowledge here. So goals, right? When I moved to New Rochelle, I lived on Prince Street, adjacent to the park where the former Lincoln School was was there. And advocating for the black community in that way, as someone who lived there, I think changed it as well, right? I wasn't like hearing about Lincoln Avenue or the disparities. I lived in that community. That school doesn't have, that part of the community doesn't have a school. You have to go through a lottery, and I had to go through that lottery. And it's an awful lottery, and I'm English dominant. What if you're Spanish dominant? It would have taken like 2 days of work to figure out how to get my kids enrolled in school. And at least I wasn't getting paid hourly. Some of my neighbors are like, you're gonna lose pay to enroll your kids in school. So there's a lot. So can I fix it? I don't think I'm gonna be able to fix it in 4 years, right? But I can elevate it. I bring those conversations to the table. I don't let us back down from those conversations. It's tricky to say open a club for everyone. That requires a public-private investment, and I can't tell private companies what to do, but we do try to encourage them to invest in our community. So a couple of things. We do have a public pool, again, near Lincoln. It's $10 for the summer. It's the best deal you're ever gonna find. And that's another way to encourage the community to have access to water. Like, I don't know how to swim. I didn't grow up with a lot of money. And so that's like a prevalent feature for some communities if you don't have access to pools. So $10 for the entire summer, $5 for your kids, free under 5 years old. That's one area. Off of Garden Street, which is near the train station, we have 219 units of affordable housing. 77 are set aside for heads of households who have survived domestic violence. And there's wraparound social work services in the building. Downstairs is over 1,000 square feet of what will be a business incubator. So what I've heard from residents, some of them are cooks and chefs, but don't have access to a commercial kitchen. So giving them access to a kitchen so they can make their food and goods and sell them and build a business. Our workforce development programs, we've graduated 5 cohorts of about 30 people in each cohort that have urban handyman or advanced carpentry skills so that they can benefit from the development, but also just maybe set up their own business to fix a bathroom or renovate something in your home. So those are ways that we're trying to make sure that we include everyone in it. But also just being honest about the conversations. I'm lucky this council, I have 2 members of the council, Council Member David Peters and Shane Oshunloye, 2 African-American men born and raised in New Rochelle and from the Lincoln Avenue corridor. So when we're at the table, there's 3 of us now talking about these issues and not shying away from it in an effort to kind of close the gap. It's okay, you can be good and honest about the past. You don't have to brush it over. And it's okay to step back and say, I don't know how to fix this, but we know we have to fix it. And that's the kind of spirit I'm trying to inculcate. Will it solve it? I don't know, but it might get us closer to that. And the one thing I've had to also come to peace with, I might start something that won't see completion until well after I'm mayor, but at least if I can sort of start that spark, again, when I'm 80 and it's all over and God calls me home, I can say I was a part of fixing it.
Thank you.
Maybe later than 80, but you know what I mean. Just not trying to trigger anything.
So I know we've had so much of your time, but in honor of the Hispanic Heritage Month,
we're
I
gonna
know we
salsa?
haven't
No.
mentioned it today, but, no, I won't ask you to do salsa. But how do you use your background and leverage that to sort of help you make decisions?
I know. I'm also a
now?
crier, so just bear with me if I do that. So my mother's from the Dominican Republic. She came to this country in 1968. She's short, tiny, black woman with an afro and wears amazing earrings. And my dad is a New Yorican from the Lower East Side. My grandparents on that side are from Puerto Rico. So how do I leverage it? I proudly identify as Afro-Latina. I think it's important to honor the slaves that are very obviously in my legacy and DNA, whose names we never really captured, but whose strength really makes me who I am. And I leverage the bilingualism. So when I'm at a meeting, right, like I'm walking in as a black woman who speaks Spanish, who understands the immigrant experience, and I get to kind of be the head representative of a city, right? And so when I talk about things, and it's even my office had these low sofas, and I was like, if you're wearing a skirt, I'm trying to talk to developers, and I'm holding my, have a table that lets, just even little things like furniture setup and how we talk about things. It's funny, the other day I was at a church and they said, the mayor's here, and this woman turned around, looked at me and said, who's the mayor? And I was like, it's me. And it's not, people that look like me aren't your mayors usually, right? So even just changing, when I think of my kids who grew up with, you know, in politics is whatever it is, but in my daughter's lifetime, Obama has been the president. Kamala Harris has a really good shot. Her mama is the mayor. Her mama's best friend is a judge in Yonkers, a Colombian woman with curly hair. Changing what leadership looks like, it'll be normal for my kids, people that look like me, to be in these roles and to talk about immigrant experiences and the benefits of supporting new Americans in this country. So I lean into the bilingual. I lean into being what it is to be Black and have experiences both in buying houses, thinking about police interactions, walking into you know, businesses. And I just bring all of that to the table. I used to try to fit in and be what we think leaders need to be, but now I'm just like hoop earrings. I love pink. I love skirts, and I'm a lawyer, so I like to ask questions, and I just bring all of that with me. And, you know, I think of my grandparents who, you know, didn't get past 3rd grade and worked in farms and factories and as housekeepers, and their grandkid gets to do some really dope stuff. And so I'm going to max out for as long as God lets me.
Thank you for that. It's an honor.
Lendy, she likes pink.
I know, that's the only thing I'm going to disagree with her. So thank you so much for this time.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate your attention.
It's been great.
Thank you.
For the students in the room, before I say anything for the students, could we give another round of applause?
Thank you.
To
Thank
Mayor
you, guys.
Yadira. This
Thank you.
has been great. This still doesn't end for us.
Yeah, I saw you at 3:30, right?
3:30, we have a 5 o'clock, we have tomorrow all day long. So please come and join us. There's also a smaller flyer, that talks about our mixer tomorrow at noon. Get to meet our faculty, get to meet our mentors. If you're interested in entrepreneurship, it's an opportunity to just chat with them. What does a future in entrepreneurship look like? So Mayor may have to run out, but okay.
Just Google me. There's not many mayors with Yadira, and my email
Right.
there, we check. So
Let's create a project with the mayor. How about that?
I'm expecting to hear from those of you, but like if something pops up or you just see me, people send me emails for far lesser things. I'd love to hear from you guys. Anything you see while you're students here and beyond, honestly.
Thank you.